my God. Welcome back, everybody. Sunday night is the fun night. Eventually, we'll get a Traumaton's camera back, but I suspect poor Eric is probably still not feeling 100% yet.
Yeah, I retested yesterday, so I'm still banished to the bedroom. But retest tomorrow.
I can hear your husband now, Eric, at the door. Yes, my plan is coming.
Yes.
And I have the living room.
You know what? That's what it is. He's trying to get on Charlie's good side, be the favorite cat for all three of them.
The sound is a lot better though for you. Like your vocals are.
I'm not gonna lie. It's really good.
I mean, that's probably because I'm propped up on a pillow and like talking directly into my laptop mic. So,
wow, that's your laptop. That's a really good
3 inches from the screen.
Oh,
brother.
The journey. A journey that began via a chance meeting, conversation with a dwarf that runs an inn, and a bag of gems kind of started this whole path the team are currently on. More importantly, some interesting discoveries. It would appear that a plot has been discovered. Whether the origins of the plot are known and whether the precise target of this plot is specifically understood, it would seem that either by accident, fate, karma, whatever you call it, the destruction of the particular section of the Ember Spire where huge quantities of explosive powder and liquid were discovered, on top of what seemed to be the poisoning of foodstuffs to be delivered to Jrusar proper within the merchant guilds as well. It seemed to have been undone. However, what to do with this information is uncertain, but in the midst of the chaos, Karina went back to House Loomis to make some additional discoveries, and realizing that another changeling might be at the center of all of these issues. However, this also had an opportunity where Melody had finally found her missing twin after 3 months. And it would appear that her missing twin is working with House Treshy to continue the focus of the organization that the twins are from, and seemingly trying to lend aid and gather and find safe haven for those of the Fae who find themselves either trapped in the material plane or trapped in situations that could be quite dangerous. We also realized that for whatever reason, a particular individual who's known to run on Corel is currently in Jrusar. They go by the name of Joman Saord, and they seem to have a partner with them, a elderly blue tiefling that goes by the name of Jester. They aided in putting out the fire and getting the Skyport back into a kind of organization. However, the team decided to do what all teams do when they accidentally maybe have saved the world prematurely. They go shopping and they go spying, because that's what they do. Going to heading off. Where are we? We are in the Lanterns. No, we're in the Lucent Spire, I believe.
I'm
heading off to the Diamond Horizon.
I'm still in the Airy Spire, though.
Yes, you're still in the Airy Spire after having your conversation with the dwarf. But it was cool Melody and Eritrio and Karina that are currently at the Diamond Horizon high-end bathhouse, while a Traumaton sought out a place called the Oil Pot to get much-needed repairs and refurbishment on his gears and metal workings that keep him functional. It is late afternoon at this point on... what day are we on? Are we on day 3 yet, or are we on day 4?
No. If day 4 was the auction day, we're the day before that still.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we're on day 3 still.
Yeah.
It is afternoon of day 3. Some of you are at the spa. Some of you are at the oil pot. Foreign and still over at the Airy Spire. What would you guys like to do with the rest of your day?
So I know I would like later in the evening to wait in the place that we figured they're getting their dead man fungus for the drugs. So
I mean, the way you say it makes it sound so much worse than the way I say it. Dead man fungus.
I assume it's from the heat, yes.
The Seraphis powder.
Yeah, that thing. And before that, did we have anything else we wanted to do?
Trauma, did you leave the barrel where I was? Like at the
I still have it on me. The one that's full of the whatever the drug powder is. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And there was also a mechanic that was working on trauma that was gonna uncover memories.
Possibly. That's
Yeah.
unresolved.
I haven't had
yet,
that
but
conversation yet.
Yeah, we're starting with Melody, Karina, and Air Trio, which you guys would like to do with the remainder of your afternoon. Knowing that tomorrow night is the auction house soiree, where you've already been given invitations to go to.
I mean, if we're out here, we can get the outfits for tomorrow, but that just feels a little decadent for an afternoon.
I feel like based on the price of the spa, buying clothes in the Lucent Spire is like way out of Melody's price range. We maybe need to go for like.
I mean, you've already seen one of the high-end boutiques that's called the Golden Veil. Like when you guys walked by it on your way to the Diamond Horizon, it's just posh. It's like way posh. The building itself was nice. There was even like an attendant standing in front of the entrance as if you have to arrange an appointment to get like catered to once you're inside. And you could see people were like, they were being kind of like pampered in such a way that they were, as they were explaining to people what they wanted to wear or what they wanted to do, they were pouring drinks and serving up little tea sandwiches and things that people could eat while they were in the midst of kind of like being catered to.
I mean, honestly, we can just go in there and look. We don't have to buy anything.
I mean, I'm down to window shop. I know there's the dead guy fungus thing as well, and which is also sounds fun.
I guess.
Then I have to go meet my sister later today.
Oh, we're gonna let that drop. Okay.
Well, I would also like to see if I can ask some of the kind of people who would go to a shop like that questions about the events tomorrow and like how they're reacting to what happened in the Smolder Spire. I feel like we can get some good gossip in a place like that.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm just going to say this now. I have one slot of spell called Distort Value, and I'm very willing to waste it on this.
What's the spell?
Distort Value. It means that
that's such a good spell.
I'm very excited to abuse it to the absolute max.
I don't doubt that for a second.
So use it on the clothing, right?
Yes.
And then you get it, and it's not.
Yeah. No, I'm only going to use it for clothing. I'm never going to use it to get anything magical or cool. So is that something you would interest? Okay, yay, shopping.
Yeah, I'll come with as kind of as their guide, and I want to make sure I look good for the event too, and try to ask people ideas of how should we present ourselves at this auction.
So as the three of you wrap up the majority of your activity, you end up going back to the different changing and cloak rooms to recover your equipment and change out of the spa attire and back into your clothing. It chafes. It kind of you know when you're super clean and you put on something dirty, like a dirty pair of pants or a dirty t-shirt? I hate that feeling, but that's kind of how you feel. Like Because I mean, these are your same clothes that you were like rescuing people in. It's like you watch Melody put some of her clothing back on, and there's still a little blood spatter here and there from like the rescue scene that occurred over at the Ember Spire. But the three of you kind of come out, and there's a moment where the attendant just kind of nods and just greets you, and I hope you'll come back again. It was a pleasure to serve you and your group, Karina.
Thank you. You guys did okay.
Oh, it's so unfortunate. We try to.
No, now I feel bad.
We try to attain such a high degree of standard. I apologize if we.
I'm gonna be an asshole. Just a sec. Can I talk to your manager real quick?
Oh, well, we don't really.
Here you go, Karen.
No.
I own the establishment.
Can I
Of course, I own the place. I don't really have managers. I'm not sure what that is. But I am Chasen Yin, the owner of the Diamond Horizon. I would more than love to hear what the issue is, and perhaps we could do better.
But truthfully, I was gonna tell the manager that you did a great job.
Oh, well, of course you are. Silly me. Thank you. We do love a good bob and a good joke every now and then.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm gonna give him a tip for dealing with this bullshit, and I'm gonna walk
Thank
away
you.
in shame.
Well, kind of watches the three of you go out the front back into the busy streets.
Just like one copper tip, one piece of copper.
Well, it wasn't that much bullshit.
Don't spend it all in one place.
Meanwhile, she's the owner of a very wealthy, expensive spa, but copper penny earned, copper penny saved.
No, I'll give her a 1 gold. 1 gold feels like a lot.
The three of you back in the streets of the Spire.
1 gold on like 30 platinum.
I don't understand.
She's not
how
big
you
on math. She's not a big person on percentages. It's all good.
I'll give him. I'll give 25%. I'm a good person. I promise.
Okay.
I'm a good person, she says, summoning evil.
Yeah. Yes, mister.
Hey, Evil.
You require. No, Evil's still in a rat form back in the tower, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. The three of you come out into the busy streets of the Lucent Spire. Things seem to have calmed down a great deal. No longer are the airships up around the Ember Spire. No sign of anything but just barely any kind of like hazy and wispy bits of smoke from now and then. The gondola traffic seems to have kind of gone back to its normalcy. The Ember Spire itself seems to have reopened, at least the sections that weren't damaged or immediately harmed by the fire that occurred. You walk down away from the Diamond Horizon, down the street a bit, and before long, you're standing in front of the Golden Veil. This very thin, kind of crepe paper looking man standing there in purple robes, kind of looking at the three of you, stopping. He raises that eyebrow as he stares at you. Yes, can I be of assistance to the three of you?
I don't think you can. I need somebody more high up. Is there somebody that you work for that can come and talk to us?
Intimidation or persuasion?
I'll give the help action.
I enjoy so much having
Just
a character
fold
with
your arms in the
charisma
back.
as opposed to like my previous character that had like a -1 for it.
I'm like holding a little gift bag from the spa so they can see that we will.
That's awesome. All right, D6 inspiration for that one. Yeah, I like that. I'm holding a little gift bag from the spa.
Were you giving me assistance for intimidation again?
Yeah, I'll give you the help action.
Thank you. Wow, the world. Okay, I need to go back to my physical dice. The higher one was 11.
11. I'm sorry, but I can assure you that if you made an appointment and you're on the list, I can do whatever you require. We are not a common merchant shop that you could just simply walk into whenever you feel like it, dear?
Bring out Johnny. I know Johnny. I'm just like going for like a common name.
Yeah.
Like
There's
he
no
knows. He knows
Johnny
me.
that works here. Perhaps you're on the wrong spire. The more common district below in the core spire seems to be more your speed. Perhaps you should go there.
Okay, but just trust me. I hope you don't work in commission.
No, we don't. We work in bulk. Thank you very much. Good day. It kind of like turns to close the door. You can hear laughter from the other side of the door too, like people
I'm gonna
like
throw a rock at
laughing.
the door. We didn't need this place anyway. It's
Huge.
lucky.
We might need to burn this place down later after that.
Our name is going to be absolute mud in the Lucent Spire at this point.
Well, let's go to their biggest competitor then. Do they have competition?
I mean, give me a perception check as you guys look around.
I'm gonna waste so much fucking resources on this. It's embarrassing.
Should I roll perception too?
Please do.
If you'd like, yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna like stand there realizing that the most body place doesn't want to serve you. So
All right. Well, I got a 5.
Let me see what my perception's gonna do for us.
Oh yeah.
So,
7.
wait. I did investigation. I didn't do perception. So
It's all the bath salts. It's the bath salts. It's got you guys all,
Yeah,
wonky
we're still all
Okay.
freaked from the
13.
explosion.
13. Whether or not they're a competitor, you're not really sure, but you do see a pretty decent crowd of people that look like they have coin and look like they have wealth and status, coming in and out of another place, maybe a few blocks down. In fact, it's right next door to the oil pot. It's called the Silver Time. It appears to be another clothier or merchant who deals in fine clothing. As you guys kind of rally up and head towards the Silver Time. The Traumaton. You've been in here for a while now. This feeling that you're getting from this person, this individual that's working on you, they seem to know about Warforged. And the whole time he's tinkering on you and like cleaning your gears and looking to like repair bits of metal and other things that are kind of like being buffed out or deep grooves and scratches. You get the feeling this person has worked on Warforges before. And he's currently in the midst of reminding you about his ability to possibly, even if you don't want the dent removed, I can assure you that if you require that I could recover your memories, since you seem to have forgotten some of your memories. Would you like me to try?
Oh yes, if you would please. I hopefully you guys can still hear that. I was kind of moving around when I did that.
You're always moving around.
Yes. Please do. I wouldn't mind recalling some people in my prior career. Could see how that could be useful. I would prefer you leave the dent though. I think it adds character.
Of course. You are a strange warforged. Normally they're very eager to look their best of them, so that's fine. Give me a moment. He goes over, puts on some goggles, picks up some like tools, metal tools, kind of shifts and move a couple of the metal plates near your ocular sensors and near where your voice box was kind of inserted and placed in there by Illithan. And you could feel pressure. You could feel like bits of metal shifting and copper tubing getting kind of moved apart. And then you just hear him just taking a deep breath. Oh my. And he kind of turns to look at the side of you as if you could actually see him. He's not sure. Do you have any memory of at all as to how you got this dent.
I remember being on some job or other for Denali, but other than that, something hit me, and I could make my own decisions fully. So I'm rather attached to the dent.
Oh, it's the dent. Yeah, the dent's not really your problem, sir. Listen. There's a bullet lodged in your gear work. It's causing some of the power stones and transference ability of your retaining memory to connect. But here's the problem: if I fail to remove it properly, it could cause you a great deal of harm the way it's positioned and kind of in the gearworks and near those two stones. Unfortunately, I don't really feel comfortable removing it. But here's the thing: do you know of the bullet or the round that's caught in your gearwork has a markings of a housemaker, and this particular house made ammunition and armaments for the Stratos army that fought many decades ago. You're a warforged. Did you serve at any point in time on any kind of armed group or within a military organization?
I have no memories. I have no active memories beyond serving as an enforcement unit for my previous employer. As far as I was aware,
and who was that previous employer again? What was their name?
It was Denali Parcel Co.
Denali Parcel Co.
Yes.
Do you know what they did for a living? Did they build automatons to wage war? Is that what they were? Or
they were more kind of in the business of collecting. They sold dry goods, via drone mail, to customers throughout the realms. People tend to get indebted to them, and that's when I would be sent out. I was there to enforce contracts.
Oh, you're a leg breaker. You're
yes, literally. Yes, quite literally.
So your job is to go out and if people don't pay up, you break their legs, basically.
Yes.
Oh,
I was quite good at
it. Did it ever occur to you that you work for a crime syndicate then?
Yeah. Oh, the morality of what I was built for, that never really entered in. It was fulfilling work.
Well, I can tell you that this damage that you suffered is very close range. Quite a bit of internal damage that is kind of, I don't know how to say this. It's kind of self-healed and self-adapted to a certain degree. Do you by chance feel that your morality has shifted at all?
I don't like seeing other sentient creatures in bondage. I will say that. That was a thing that I didn't really have a whole lot of time to think of while I was in service. Not a huge fan of that. Still remarkably morally flexible.
Remarkably morally flexible. Needless to say, I'm not going to charge you for today's activities. I want to just say that I'm absolutely not morally flexible, and I would prefer not to be squished by you. Listen, there are components and parts kind of meshed in here. I would, you know what? I'm a little uncomfortable saying this, but I feel like I need to. Did you work for the Ivory Syndicate at all?
I have no memory of that. I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing. There's a particular artificer that works for the Ivory Syndicate. He goes by the name of Crimp. At least that's what he's known as on the streets. Here's the thing. A lot of his markings and his handiwork are inside your head or body. I'm still unsure as to where the head begins and the body ends. It's you're kind of a big, bulky fella, or thing, or whatever you go by. But I can assure you that this person worked on you. But it feels like the work was done before the damage. That much I could tell you.
All right. One thing I did want to ask. I know I mentioned not fixing the dent.
Yes.
I think you've earned this bit of trust. The main reason I don't is, again, prior to that obtaining that damage or something in that time period, I could not. I was conscious, but I couldn't make my own decisions. I was bound by programming that I did not have any will in obeying or not.
So
you said there's a bullet in my head.
There's bullet and damage. Are you thinking that's what gave you the ability to think for yourself then?
Yeah, yes. That's kind of why I'm rather attached to those. Just wanted to make sure they're not. The damage you're seeing isn't affecting my primary functions. It seems to just be limited to the effects I've already experienced.
Well, okay. I mean, if you think
No, I'm asking your opinion on the damage to myself.
Well, you make some interesting points. First of all, while I'm familiar with Warforged backgrounds and their manufacture, manufacture's not technically correct. Warforges come into existence through magical relationships with other things. For example, often a wizard of power will build a Warforged and give it a kind of sentient existence for the purposes of serving them for the requirements of what must be done for them. Although normally they give them some license and their ability to make choices if they choose to. Some Warforged are created by accident through bad magics or the misinterpretation of magics during a build of a construct. I think that might be the case that we have here with you. I think Crimp built you. I think Crimp made some augments to you. I am seeing works here that are older than some of the works that Crimp has used. You may not realize this, but I'm gonna take a guess. I'm gonna say that you're, let's see. We are in, trying to remember what year we're in, because I know I gave everybody a year.
I think it was, I have it in my notes. I think it was like 1025 in Common Era or something like that.
Yeah, 1025 post-divergence. Yeah, he goes, well, I'm not a judgment of age, but based on what I'm seeing here, your manufacture or your creation date, roughly 835 post-divergence, I want to say. A little under 200 years ago. I'm seeing Vasselheim markings here. I predate you pre-Vecna as well. So I suspect you were created just prior to Vecna's failed ascension outside of Vasselheim. And it seems that you were kept functioning. I wish I knew your purpose, but I don't. But the conglomeration of parts and things that I'm seeing, and then the artificers, at least 2 or 3 different ones, but the Crimp was your most recent augment that worked on you. My advice is find this Crimp, but you need to know something. He works for the Ivory Syndicate, so be cautious. Those are rough people to work with. They're very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Well, I appreciate the top up, Michael, man. And I couldn't look. I know my personality matrix and everything. You simply must be paid something. If you wouldn't mind, please get in touch with me.
I'm not quite done yet. I recognize this voice box modulator. That's Illithion's work. I recognize it. He didn't quite finish some of the tapping and assembly of it. If you'd like, I could give you a range of 12 voice modulations if you prefer. Right now, you're set for 2.
Absolutely, that sounds ideal.
Okay.
I'm actually set to,
Yes.
while I'm here, I know you've already gone through and given me a bit of a cleanup here. I think I'll be attending with some acquaintances an auction in the next day or two, and I've been advised to look my best. Could you perhaps add some rust bluing to my coating, like maybe a nice and presentable box?
You're going to the Greymaker's auction?
Yeah, I think that well, the organics. I'm currently.
I think that's the one over in the Corspire, I believe. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
In the mid district of the Corspire.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, there's some very interesting people that go to that auction. They only hold it like once a year. They bring in a lot of. You know what you mentioned that you'd be willing to pay me for all these services I've done for you today.
Mm-hmm.
Can I listen? There's always been rumors that at the Greymaker's auction that these strange gadgets and devices come up for bid from time to time. There's been rumor that the Greymakers have gotten their hands on a very, very specialized tinkerer's kit that may be going up for auction tomorrow. I was going to reach out to Illithin and see if we could pool our funds together to possibly bid on this and get our hands on it. I like working with Illithin. We do a good job. We make nice things. But yeah, that would be a great help if you think you and your friends could acquire that for me.
I will make every effort to acquire it.
But here's the thing: I can tell that you're a very robust and intimidating person. It needs to be acquired legally, or it won't do me any good. Just putting that out there. You seem very energetic and willing to help. I don't want to be obvious in my assumption that you're a criminal, but you've got some criminal things going on inside here. And he closes the panel. And I just want to make sure that if you do help me with this, you do it in such a way that I can use these tools with Illithin out in the open. Otherwise, if you steal them, we can't really. We're not going to be able to use those tools. You get my meaning? I'm not trying to be offensive, but I'm just covering my bases, just in case.
No. I understand. I do just want to make sure, if I acquire this for you, I expect at least some upgrades to myself and perhaps some of my companions' equipment.
If you'll allow me and Illithin to do some experimental works and some experimental augments, we could definitely help you out there. Big fella or big person or big thing. I'm trying to remember. Did you tell me your name before?
Well, the name I've been going with is a Traumaton, based on, and he just kind of points to the stencil on his chest.
Yeah, that's clever. That's a clever way to both remember you have the dent and a clever way to remember your own name as well. That's
it's
cool.
What called me the designation for my previous employer. It's password blocked. I respond to it, but because it's considered internal company information, I can't actually share it. So a Traumaton works as well as anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. You help me and Illithin out. You and your friends acquire those tinkerer's tools, and we could talk. Yeah, we could start doing schematics. We can work on your oculars. We could work on your agitators that allow your compression modules to create more damage. We can make you a little bit quicker if you'd like. You're pretty big, so I imagine you're not moving around that much or that quick. We could do some work. I think so. I think we could do it.
I think it's a deal, my good sentient.
Oh wow, that's sweet. Sentient's more of a metal on metal thing. You can just call me Faber for short.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We will, if I'm lucky enough in this auction, if I can convince my companions, we may be back to see you about this. But I appreciate your warnings.
Yeah, of course. Anyways, it's an absolute pleasure to have met you, Atramaton, and hopefully in the near future we can discuss a partnership between us and Illithin.
Just very daintily shakes his hand. Comes out.
Oh, good shit on my fingers. It's okay. We can work on that too. I need those to like live and not starve to death. Thank you. Anyways, travel well, Traumaton. Be good. Don't. Oh, please don't get caught. Please don't get caught. Forn, you're inside the Stargazer Tavern, or are you traveling? You went back to the Stargazer Tavern, correct?
I'd stepped out to talk to Emberbeard, and then came back in. And I will pull up to the bar and wave the bartender over. The Goliath.
Yeah. What can I do for you there, little fella?
It's not often I get called little fella. I kind of find it quaint. Thank you, sir.
It's like his shadow is like 2 feet taller than you are. You know what? I can't remember names all that well, so I'm okay with just giving you a nickname. It makes it easier for me. Not everything in this world is about you.
Certainly. Now, around here, wouldn't happen to have any House Maysoon shops or affiliated folk, would it?
He kind of furrows his brow. Hey, come on. Any House Maysoon places around here? You hear this kind of snivelly voice. Not that I know of. You got to go over to the Lucent Spire for that shit. Yeah, all right. Unfortunately, it's the Lucent Spire for you, mate.
Fair enough. Well, in that case, where's your nearest bounty board?
Well, we keep one right out front of the Stargazer. Every good tavern will have one nearby. Of course, you could always go up to the core spire and go directly to the Chandei Quorum agency or administrative house. They often will keep, they'll keep good bounty boards as there. So, are you a bounty hunter, mate? Is that what you do for a living?
I'm getting my start.
Are you good or do you suck?
I'm getting my start.
Oh, somewhere in between then. Listen, I've got someone I've been looking for. And they owe me a bit of wealth. Now, obviously, I don't know how you do or conduct your services, but based on that pistol and that rifle on your back, you do it at range, I take it.
I try to keep it that way, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this fellow is a bit sneaky. I bought this place off of him some 2 years ago. Come to find out, he wasn't the owner of this establishment. Quite the heist, didn't it? Anyways, after I had to plunk down a healthy amount of coin to get out of that spot of trouble, pay the proper owner who was in Ank'Harel on business for a 6-month period. Luckily, it kept me out of prison, but it cost me a lot of coin, and I want to collect it from this person. But here's the thing, mate. She's a changeling. And she's a grifter. She's a clever grifter.
Really now?
Yeah.
What's her tale?
Well,
I mean, she is a changeling after all.
I think she's a changeling. Because as I've been doing my own bit of research on what she fooled me by, come to find out that I thought it was just a little halfling fella that I was doing business with. But as I dug deeper into their past, it seemed to be connecting the dots to these other grifts that were going on. This person would live way beyond their means, empty out the purses with these people through the tragedy of someone else's history, and then move on to the next one. And I believe he, she, them have many different names that they go by, but here's the trick, fella. You know how I know you can find her?
How's that?
Rumor has it she keeps a very creepy bird with her all the time.
Man.
And she uses it as part of her grift.
Interesting. I have come across a rather creepy bird here several times over the last few days.
He gets like face to face. Really? Have you seen
Looks
the changeling associated?
kind of
to
like
it?
a crow, but missing a lot of feathers. Like it ought to be dead, but it's not dead.
This one was more of an owl, a very kind of old, disheveled owl. I don't know about a crow,
well,
but I would
perhaps.
imagine if she's got magic power or she's in the arcane, she could summon a different one, perhaps.
Perhaps.
But oh, she's a sneaky bugger, my friend. And I will be more than willing to pay you 1,000 gold. Head or hair, irrespective.
Well, that sounds like a challenge, my friend. I'll take you on that deal.
Well, gross, but I'll do it. Like shakes your hand with his big, meaty Goliath paw.
Where was the last place you saw this imposter? Just so I've got a lead to follow up first.
Well, here's the thing. I tracked her down to an area of the noble houses. I suspect she works for one of them Treshies or Luminous houses. But that as deep as my coin could get me. Anything more than that, I kept running into walls, missing people, absent guardians, and just kind of lost track of where I think she might have gone to.
I thank you for the lead.
Oh,
I imagine
I
I'll
thank you.
follow up with you before too
Well,
long.
the opportunity! Thank you, mate. Yeah, that's awesome. Great job. Great job. Yeah, thank you. Well, anyways, good luck to you, fella.
Tips his hat, finishes off the ale, and takes off out of the Stargazer.
With that, back over to the Silver Time. It is a shop filled with nothing but color, clothing, fabrics. There are people sitting at tables, sharing in drinks and food, laughter and conversation in the background. People kind of whimsically, like trying on clothes. They laugh and go back to try on yet more clothes. Men and women coming and going. A woman runs by just wearing her undergarments, holding on to a dress that's perfect, and she's like, it's perfect as she runs in one direction. And all in the midst of this elven curator, this merchant, and he's holding a glass of wine, talking to a couple of the other merchant folk, and then immediately sees the three of you standing in the middle of his shop, kind of raises an eyebrow towards Eritrea, and then glances over at Melody, but sets his eyes on Karina, and oh, well, hello, welcome to the Silver Time. I smell opportunity and money because your clothing looks terrible. Were you involved in that tragedy across the way in the Ember Spire?
You don't know the half of it.
I love this place. This is incredible.
Oh, you know what? Give me a moment. Charles, put that down. You're getting very heavy. You should stop eating that. Listen, go and get wines. 3 wines for everybody. Wine. Oh, holy person. Oh, you have the mark of the sun ray. That's quite lovely. Anyways, 3 elven reds, please. Yes, thank you, Charlie. Get with it. Yes. Well, what can I find for you 3 lovely folk today?
we're going to an auction, and so we need some really...
Oh, wait a minute. Are you going to... I think you're going. They only hold it once a year.
Yes, we are.
Oh, he kind of like flutters and flushes himself and kind of fans at his chin. That's quite... do me a favor. If anyone asks, you got these clothes from the Silver Time. In fact, since you have gotten into the Gravemakers, which is very difficult to get into, I'd be happy to do this clothing on my dime. The amount of nobility and people of wealth and influence that will be there will easily make up for the cost of clothing the three of you.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. That would be incredible.
Oh, you must be from the valley. I'm from the valley. Anyways, yeah, that would be... I know it would be amazing. That's why you're here, of course. What do you think? Horns? Something to accentuate your satyr profile, but drawing value to the horns on your head while also gifting the audience a lavish blue, green, white, and golden hair colors to match your hair, perhaps.
Yes, I love this. That sounds fabulous. I think green really sets off my hair really nicely.
Well, of course it is. I recommended it. Of course it will. Your hair is gorgeous, by the way. And what's your name?
Melody.
Melody. Pleasure to meet you. My name is Fabian. Pleasure to meet you. And you, young lady there with the look of refugee class, the smattered.
Oh,
you are smattered
It was
with
you.
blood
This is
on
so
your...
nice.
Well, yeah, she's a satyr. I mean, you know, fae. They come with a special kind of magical... Listen, I don't know what the three of you have been into, but your clothing looks awful. I'm just here to tell you that if you're going to a Gravemakers event, you have to look the nines. Or as my lovely husband tells me, he calls it, you have to look tits up.
Well, give us your dress that is the most tits then.
Oh, see, you do know the language. You are fabulous. But what's your name, dear?
You might know me. I am Corina Lombrasso. Corina Liar Lombrasso.
Yes. House Loomis, is it not?
It is. You know, I got caught up in what happened earlier. Unfortunately, my beautiful dress got ruined. Obviously, I cannot be seen in it another second. So please,
yes,
help.
Tragedy.
This tragedy.
Over at the Ember Spire. Can you imagine such a thing happening in the Lucent Spire? I would be in bed for days. It would be a terrible tragedy.
It truly was. So about that dress.
Oh yes, sorry, I was lost in your eyes, dear. In your eyes. Let's see here. You have a haughtiness about you. There's both secret and renown in your family name. Bright reds, greens, and yellows to bring out the flash of your eye and the color of your skin. And you seem to have an academic wit about you as well. Maybe the deep blue of a cobalt flare of color to kind of just scream academic as well.
Deep blue would complement like a decorative book if I hold one. So maybe that's...
Of course. Of course, I recommended it, so of course it's exactly what you need. Good idea.
Does Karina have like one of those like a purse that looks like a book?
Yes. So everybody knows she's smart.
Yeah.
That is a clever idea. I like that a lot. That's very clever. You are very bright, very bright. And of course, the crescendo of all this. Azamir, friend here. What is your name?
Eritrea.
Eritrea. A pleasure to meet you. You have a very broody but yet kind of biblical look about you. Are you steeped heavily in your priesthood, or do you find yourself wandering the wilds searching for your wisdom?
I find much inspiration from my religion, but I have been wandering for some time now.
Ah, the yellow, gold, and bright whites of the Serenray color, but the green and browns of the Wanderer. I like this. We could do something. We could definitely do something with the three. Oh, thank you, Charlie. He hands out the 3 glasses of wine, and there's a brief moment where you guys kind of all cheers, and after that, it's just a flurry of activity. You guys are kind of taken into a side tailoring area of the Silver Time. There's about half a dozen people that begin to just work on you at a fever pitch. Halflings standing on shoulders to take measurements. Gnomes like doing schematics of the outfits. Different other people kind of like cutting. And over the next hour, as you spend your time here, fabrics and all these other things, well, we have everything we need. Where can I... You know what? Come and see me midday tomorrow. Let's do a final fitting. Make sure everything is quite nice. He kind of squeezes Eritreo's biceps. Yes, we don't want to diminish that. And, of course, the horns and the... your friend's right, dear. If you have a book you can carry around with you, that might help. Anyways, come in for that final midday fitting, and then I can assure you, you will absolutely stand out at the affair.
May I ask
night.
a request of my robes?
Oh yes,
I would like something that would honor the. I would like something that would honor the tragedy that happened in the spires.
Oh,
the great fires.
You are a sweet one, aren't you? I'll tell you what I'll do. I will do a silken infusion of embers and flame every time you turn with your robes. They will light with the illusionary aspect of embers and flame. And then when you turn back, a great image of our fine rescuer, Jaman Sa'ord, in their brass dragon form, will wash across the image and turn the fires and ember back into the clear blue and white of the horizon. Will that work for you, dear one? I think it will.
More than I could have ever expected.
Oh, finish a bottle of wine with me. You never... Anyways, as for the rest of you, any last minute requests, perhaps? I'm already regretting asking.
To look the smartest.
Smile a lot. Engaging conversation. I can put illusionary fabrics within your garment as well, so that it shifts colors of the different... Ooh, how would you like to represent all the noble houses at will? The colors of Luminous, the colors of Treshy, the colors of Monsoon, and even perhaps the colors of the dreaded Warden Keepers. That would be fun at a Greymaker's soiree, as they say.
Oh, yeah, no, I would love to cause a little bit of a stir with that.
Oh, more than a stir, my dear. More than a stir. Just don't get blood on anything, please. And for you, Melody, I think dangles and bobbles on your horns, for starters. I will, of course, need this jewelry back. It's quite expensive. I'm also thinking maybe a motif of illusion of Fey energy will follow you wherever you go. You can think of it like having your own soundtrack wherever you walk, right? The tinkling of the Fey lights and the crystalline structure, the ancient crystal groves of the Fey, the, dare I say, the house of the root tree following you wherever you go. I do miss traveling to the Fey, dear, don't you?
Of course. This is why you're the master, Fabian. I can tell you're an expert.
I can tell that you're smarter than me. Well, I will see the three of you tomorrow. Good day, and thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity to do this.
I'm definitely trying to take another glass of wine for the road.
Oh, yeah, you just grab one off a tray and head out into the busy street.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
So as the three of you come out, you also are immediately kind of greeted by a Traumaton coming out of the oil pot. And when he comes out of the oil pot, he is reflective. He's been cleaned up so much. In fact, a Traumaton, you are now under the effect of a full rest.
Okay.
And you also have advantage on all of your attacks for the next 24 hours.
Hey.
Everything, he is in such good shape and gleaming with this kind of buffed out kind of metallic sheen on his outside. It kind of makes the dent look more obvious. Like it just, everything else is so perfectly clean and well kind of cleaned up and organized and, improved upon. The dent is just like an eyesore now.
So I actually posted a thing in the StreamYard chat of some salt bluing, and it's like that was kind of what I was going for like the fancy one.
Okay, cool. So when you come out of the oil pot, what do you look like then when you talk about the fancy?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. It's I figured like when he was doing that, he kind of applied a coat of like salt bluing to me.
Gotcha. So now you're not that kind of like just dull gray and black of your like typical automaton form. You're now almost like that really cool blue that heated metal gets when it's being kind of refined and turned into like a Damascus steel. And it's got like 3 shades of blue that every time you watch as a Traumaton, like imagine Fabio, the model, for commercials, for hair commercials, coming out of the oil pot, only it's a Traumaton. And every time he kind of like moves or kind of shimmers in the sun, it courses up his form into different shades of blue. From like his lower form, it's one kind of blue, his mid form, another kind of blue. And like it gets up into his upper form. And there's like this weird explosion of soft blue light that kind of effervesces in the sunlight.
Trauma, you look fabulous. Oh my gosh.
Just kind of glanced down at my arms like, yes, it does.
You feel like a new robot?
I kind of miss the rust. I think that's a bit more of my personality. But those are some interesting clothing you have there. I feel a bit, well, I don't wear clothing typically, but a bit underdressed for this event. Do you have any idea if your clothier might have something appropriate for a Warforged?
You know what? That's a wonderful idea. And we'll just run back in there real quick.
Yeah, you run back in, you grab Fabian to come out with you. He's on his 3rd glass of wine. He's like, what? Oh my.
I think my coding is quite extravagant enough. I was thinking something like a nice tailcoat, perhaps a hat. I'm rather attached to the dent.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll be right back.
Oh, God.
Watches because you guys don't have your clothes yet, but Fabian kind of goes back inside, comes out with this beautiful kind of Victorian style hat, but it's like bright purple with this flourish of yellow flowers coming out the back of it, and it's clearly oversized, and he affixes it to the top of a Traumaton, and you watch as Fabian goes, perfect, covers the dent. Here, let me adjust the strap. And it's this huge purple sun hat with this flow of feathers coming out the back. And Fabian goes, finishes his wine. You're all full of surprises. Anyways, there you go, lovelies. Enjoy. I have much to do. Remember, avoid the cheaper chicken and always go with the lobster. And he kind of turns and goes back inside the Silver Time.
Words to live by.
So the 4 of you have gathered in front of the Silver Time. Thorn, after your conversation with the Goliath, I'm trying to remember, did I ever give you his name by chance? I don't think I did.
I have it written down.
All right. Because he's in the Airy Spire. Oh, yeah, Corin. He goes by the name Corin Stoneclaw. No, that's the Beastmaster trainer. Hold on. Ba. No, I don't think I gave you his name. Let me mark that in my notes so that I know that. Goes by the name of Brookham. So where are you heading off to next, Florin? You're mute. Can't hear you.
Oh no. Yep, the button. Sorry.
Yeah, you have a button now.
It's the gremlins, man. The gremlins want to come and talk to me, so I put it on mute so I'm not, see? She walked right up at the right time.
As soon as you said gremlins, there it is.
So I'm gonna send activate the token that Corinna's carrying.
Okay.
And let her know that she'll hear, Corinna just heard the most amazing story about a potential changeling traveling with a ugly bird thing that may or may not have swindled someone out of a tavern. I'm headed to the Lantern Spire to start digging into it a little bit. Perhaps you might want to join.
I can't answer.
No.
Nope.
The one-way connection.
So I'm headed to I give that to give direction to say like where I'm off to.
So you heading to
the Lantern Spire is where House Loomis and the other houses were, right? Or are we talking the Core Spire?
That's the Core Spire.
Okay,
That'd
sorry.
Be the Core Spire.
Yeah,
sorry, the Core Spire.
Well, I let everyone know. Not necessarily the part about the ugly bird, just the rest of it. I know we also need to meet Melody's sister, and then after that we have the fungus thing. Do we want to split up and I'll meet Thorn and see what he's discovered while you talk to your sister? How does that work for everyone?
Sure. How are we getting to a point where it's like late enough in the afternoon I should be going back to meet my sister, or
do you remember where she wanted to meet?
Yeah, the Stargazer.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point where the sun is dipping. And she'll probably meet you at any given point at that time. I mean, she said around sunset, back at the Stargazer.
So yeah, it sounds like I should probably head back towards the Stargazer. Do you guys want to circle up at the Stargazer once you're done looking into this person on the Core Spire?
Sounds like a plan. And again, if you could ask her about what I mentioned,
Sure.
About if she's heard of any humans who might have been taken to the Fae, please let me know.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Enjoy having fun with your sister.
Thank you.
What was the location for the Seraphis powder that you were going to look into?
It was there was only one place that you mentioned that like dead bodies were kept. It was one of the.
You're talking about the spire tombs where they because they don't really do funeral rites. They have a tomb that they do all the burnings at. So it would be at the very base of the Core Spire, like right above the jungle canopy, is a place called the Spire Tombs, and that's where they do all of the oh, my brain is just folded in half. All of the where they burn the bodies.
Yeah. So the idea was that
crematorium, yes, where they cremate the bodies.
Yes.
Obviously, they don't want to bury bodies down in the jungle, and they don't want to go through all that hassle. So when people pass away for whatever reason, they're brought down to the tomb spire, which is at the base of the Core Spire.
Yeah, and I guess the idea was that because Thorn burned their supply of seraphim powder, they'd probably be more likely to come in at night and try to get some more.
Correct. Yeah.
And then we can
maybe
the plot. Shadow them a little.
Okay. So, Melody, you're heading off to the Stargazer to meet up with your sister. Atraumaton and Eritreo, what are you two going to do?
I want to try to find a temple to anything related to Sarah and Ray, I feel like I need to pray and reflect on what has happened in the last day.
I think Trauma's going to kind of tag along behind Karina. Like, there's something about Karina where he's just like, I like this person. They seem mischievous.
Together we will cause so much pain to people.
So with that in mind, Eritrea, thinking back on when Melody had brought you guys to the Dawnfather Temple back in the Lantern Spire, it felt like there were some altars, and being the Dawnfather Temple, there's a connection with the idea of the sun and the rising of hope. And the Dawnfather Temple usually sees its busiest time at both the setting of the sun and the dawn of the sun, usually busier with its dawn as people kind of find their way to either the gardens, the different altars, the different statues. And you get a feeling that maybe in that garden area where all the altars were kept, that you'd be able to find what you might be looking for. You head over to the Lucent Spire gondola, you pay the 2 silver, and give me a perception check as you're glancing out the gondola window and the gondola is heading back over to the Lantern Spire.
Perception check. That'll be a 23.
Okay. From this height...
Or 22, I'm sorry.
Okay. From this height, Jrusar always has an interesting look about itself. But today feels a little different, and one of the things about coming on this gondola ride, you can't help but notice that the damage of the Ember Spire is like a scar, like just this. You could see where the collapse took place. You could see where all the damaged structures are kind of sagging and hanging in on themselves. And you can see other looky-loos in the gondola with you. You're kind of all on one side, kind of, glancing and watching as the gondola goes by, getting closer to the Lantern Spire, seeing the Ember Spire in this condition. You can overhear people around you talking about it, whispers, rumors. Some people wondering if the alchemical section of the spire is finally coming home to roost, that ever since the Chandei Quorum had given license and rights to the different houses to get in the business of fabricating strange metals and strange alchemicals, there's been rumors of risk and danger that kind of float about the city. A couple talk about how they were just at the Ember Spire the other day, acquiring items and things that they need for what they specialize in. Kids running by and kind of pointing and kind of whispering about the damage and what it must have been like to be in that fire. There's a figure sitting across from you that, as you take your seat for the remaining half of it, you recognize the Luxodon species across from you, but they are dressed in very kind of obvious ceremonial attire. Give me a religion check as you stare at this Luxodon.
Be at 10.
10? You recognize the iconography on her form as being of the Wild Mother. The greens and blues and kind of the natural kind of nature look of her attire. Her huge Luxodon snout hanging down, her stunted tusks coming out, but they've been cut down, and solid gold plating has been kind of put on their ends with the Wild Mother iconography on the plating. Long feathers and wispy red and yellow hair colorations kind of braided and falling across her form. I couldn't help but notice you stared a bit longer at what everybody else was staring at. See a bit of a a tiredness in her voice and in her eyes. Did it affect you as much as it affected others?
It affected me a great deal. I'm just absolutely heartbroken by what's happened and what continues to happen within Jrusar. And I know people need to get on with their days, but I'm having a hard time with this right now.
I can understand your perspective. I have served the Wild Mother here as best as I can. The people in this place are uniquely both lost and found on a daily basis. The politics of this place are difficult. I have found my services useful today, however. I could say that I saved quite a number of people. And that always makes me feel good. My name is Calum. Calum Hoofstomper, by the way. I have been here long enough to know that the look on your face tells me you have not been here very long at all.
I have not. I've been wandering, trying to help as many as possible, and I feel like I need additional guidance. How have you managed to deal with all this corruption in politics? How are you continue to help people?
One of the things, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Eritrea.
Eritrea. It's always good to see a Serenray follower amongst such challenging places. Sometimes folks say that when you hide behind the walls of Vasselheim for too long, it's hard to understand why we do what we do. It's not a matter of how I keep resilient in such a place. It's more of a matter of how I view my way in the world. I know the harder I try, the more I can save, whether it's physical or psychological. People in Jrusar are very accepting of what they call the normal day-to-day. While we look at people and wonder about the morality of their choice, they do not look at each other that way. They look at each other very differently. They look at each other with the idea of, what can I gain advantage on? Where can my next coin be found? What is this person trying to do? Steal from me? Or steal from a friend? When we look at people, we see to ourselves, maybe there's hope. Maybe I can help. Maybe through my own understanding of the way the world works, I can convince such folk of how the world should work. Morality is not an easy lesson to teach.
It is the most important thing to me right now, and I feel like every day I've been here, things have gotten worse and worse. Your words have been very inspiring to me, but I want to see a greater impact here.
And with such an impact to bestow on such a unworthy group of people.
Well, don't say that. I wouldn't say they're unworthy. People have their motivations. We need to try to listen and understand.
Yes.
Instead of judging. And try to assist and get them to understand that helping others will help them in the long run.
But do you wish to help them because it betters you? Or does it truly better them as people?
Them being better as people will better me because I will feel better about the society we're in. So yes.
You are Azamir, correct? brought you to this place? Why here? What was your foment to come to this place?
There's so much potential here with the amount of people, the amount of commerce, but it's so cursed at this time. And I truly believe I can assist in bringing a better society in Jrusar, while people could still get by and be successful. They don't have to be so corrupt.
You are interesting, Eritrio. So much hope and faith in your voice, in your words. I cannot help but wonder, are you perhaps giving them more credit than they truly deserve?
I will never stop having hope for people.
I ask again, where does that hope come from? Does it come from the Serenray? Does it come from your past? Or does it simply just come from your heart?
My heart is with Serenay. And that's where I derive this hope from. It is me.
She stares at you long and hard, almost as if her eyes are trying to read your words in your mind. And there's a kind of eagerness in her stare. And she takes a moment. I see your heart is true. And then you feel the gondola thud as it reaches the spire. As it reaches the lantern spire. Oh, my stop. Your heart is true. I sense no misguidance in your words. If you ever require a simple conversation about how your discovery at Jrusar is going, you can seek me out at the Weary Way Tavern. I often dine and make conversation with people that need help. You watch as she kind of gets up to her feet, and you could tell she's old. She would be considered elderly for her kind. And there's a slowness to her pace, but when she stands up, it's rare that you come across people so tall in general. Usually maybe Goliaths or other tall lineage types that you interact with, but this Lexodon, she is quite tall, and she holds out a hand to shake your hand, and she kind of, creaks and waddles by you, and you're back out on the landing, and you find that original path that Melody had shown you before towards the Dawnfather Temple, and you start heading in that direction. Melody. Back on the Airy Spire, the busy crowd beginning to become more of a tavern-like crowd. The night activity is starting because the sun is about to set. It's getting close to that point. Sitting at a table by herself at the arrival, you can see your sister.
All right, you made it! Oh my god! I'll rush over.
Yeah, you rush over, and you take a moment, and the two of you embrace for a long time. You can feel tears, welling up in both of you, and she sits down. There's already your favorite bottle of wine. It is a bottle of wine from your time back at the compound in the wilds at the collective. Some of the local wine that was produced in the Oderland Wilds was from like natural ingredients, and you recognize the bottle. The bottle's got to be well over 5 years old. It was the bottle that she took with her when she left to make her kind of self-understanding of the Sunni teachings and the reason why. And she catches you staring at the bottle, and she's staring at it. And do you remember that day?
Of course. I
Do you
didn't
remember how different we were that day?
How much have you changed?
The world is so much bigger than what the collective could have ever shown us, sister. I have witnessed and seen things unlike anything I'd ever expect to see.
What have you seen?
What have I seen? I've seen people like us, but not under the safety of the collective. There are lots of people from the Fae that live out in the wild places of both Marquet and other places of Exandria. House Treshy has been very good to me. They've afforded me an opportunity to save dozens and use their influence and their wealth to seek out other places where they might be. It's so exciting, Melody. I wish you'd join us in this.
I mean, it sounds amazing. It sounds like you're meeting so many people. I just don't understand why it has to be so secretive.
She looks around and picks up a knife to kind of undo the corked bottle, and she pours you a glass and herself a glass. You know, there's a lot of people that don't... It's not that they don't like our kind. They just see opportunity with our kind. With the absence of the Feywild, there is a great hunger for the things that they can't get anymore. In the old days, when the Fae could be traversed, you simply provided a lock of hair, a shedded horn, an elderly pixie that perishes and gladly gives up their wings for the purposes of magic, or that friend you're with, the one with the rifle and the pistol, I think you called him Thorn?
Yeah. What about him?
Are you aware of what he is?
I've gotten some kind of weird vibes from him, but I think he's a good guy. I think it's just something he can't help.
And you know he's from the Fae?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I asked him to help me find you.
Oh. Does this count? Did he find me? Or did we find each other?
I'm not sure, but I hadn't really agreed to pay him anyhow, so... I think I'll give it to him.
Well, I don't. I mean, when has Ariana and Melody ever paid for anything that we didn't give or get and receive? I mean, where would we be in this world?
By the way, I had the most incredible spa experience today. You have to check out this place. Karina took me, and it was fabulous.
I'm guessing the Diamond Horizon.
Yes. Have you been?
Lady Treshy has been kind enough to bring me there as a guest.
No way. Oh my gosh. I would love to meet her too, because I had a lot of fun there, but it is way out of my price range.
Yes, it's expensive. Melody, when did you get here? I would imagine you were still in the collective at this point. I always intended to go back, but I just got so busy and sidetracked by all my work.
It just, it had been so long and we hadn't heard anything from you. And I knew you'd probably be fine, but I just started to get a little worried. And I thought I would just come and make sure you were okay. I've only been here a couple weeks. The city's been a little scarier than I expected, but fun, but mostly fun.
Yeah, it is a weird city, isn't it? There's so much fun and excitement here that a person could get lost for days before they realize they have to wake up and get a day's work in to pay for the next few days of crazy. Not like back home at all, is it?
It really isn't. I have to admit I've crashed at the Dawnfather Temple a couple times, though, so there haven't been too many days' work required.
She kind of leans across the table, takes your hand. Listen, that big fella you were with, I think he went by the name of Eritrio.
Huh?
Quite the heroic type, wasn't he? How'd you meet him?
He actually works as a cook at a bar I went to the other night, and he got off shift and had him over for some drinks.
What was the name of the place that he worked at?
The Spire by Fire?
Oh. Affiliated with a dwarf that goes by the name of Ember Brew, perhaps?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Kind of like a little bit of a shady guy, am I right?
I wouldn't know. I just put the dots together. When I saw you at the Ember Spire, I thought I saw you briefly, and then you came back. Didn't you? You came back for me, Melody.
Of course.
You could have died.
That was not really my concern. Of course I was going to come back for you. I was chasing you, and then there was a blast. And next thing I knew, I was on a plane flying out of the spire. I got back as quickly
Yes, I
as
wouldn't say
could.
anything. I can't help it. Melody, there's a wizard that works for House Treshy, and they think they found a way back to the Fae. They don't think the Fae's destroyed. They think it's fragmented. There's strange magic involved. She looks around. I'm not supposed to say this. I kind of came across the information by chance, by circumstance.
So, what do they need? Are they going to find a way back to the Fae?
I don't really understand all of it. There's her name is Vespara Treshy. She's a wonderful person, an elven lady of half descent. I wanted to thank her for the trip to the Diamond Horizon. So I'd gathered up one of my favorite drinks and a snack, and I went to find her in a library to have this conversation. And I was so excited, I didn't really think about it. As I got closer to the library within the house, I could overhear her talking to an individual, and their conversation was about the possibility of experimenting with something called a Fae pocket, a little dimension of space or a fragment of the Feywild. Evidently, he's a bit of a tinker, a maker of magic items, and he described it to Vespara as something that he needed in order to fabricate something called a bag of holding. And somehow those two things are involved in, I don't really understand what a bag of holding is, but it sounded interesting. So I lingered for a while and listened to their conversation. It would appear that this particular wizard that she was talking to is experimenting with teleportation magic and planar shift magic and trying to locate large fragments of the Feywild, under the belief that the Feywild was never truly destroyed so many years ago. But, oh my, it's been 25 years since the catastrophe, 20 years. But that it is in a state of disillusionment, that the magic that once held it together was destroyed alongside with the Shadowfell, the interconnected magic of the Shadowfell, as well as, they do call it the period of Helm's Awakening. And they're kind of under the impression that a great divine divergence occurred. And during this divine divergence, it consumed the energies of both the Fel and the Feywild. And that if those energies, Melody, they think if those energies are restored, those energies are brought back together between the Fel and the Feywild, those places could be whole again. They will have changed, of course. The creatures and our ilk and our kind there may have suffered long-running calamity and tragedy, but there's hope. It could gain us the opportunity to go back home once again and at least see the land of our heritage, see the land where we came from.
Horn is going to be so excited to hear this. I can't wait to tell him. This is amazing.
I don't like him.
What do you mean?
I don't like his energy.
I know he's a little stinky. I told him beard oil. I'm not positive that he's done it, but he's a really nice guy.
Not that kind of energy, Melody. I think he's a bad person. I think he does bad things. There's a vibe I get from him, like maybe he finds people for money. Maybe he kills people for money. I mean, I call it a feeling. I don't know.
Okay.
We know his kind are rare, and they usually specialize in things that kind of lean towards a loner existence. Just saying, we should be careful. Just got to be careful. Sorry, I got all serious on you. Here, more wine. And she pours more of the bottle of wine, and you guys just kind of drift off into casual conversation about the collective, about all the friends and family that you have back in the collective, and the 30 years of that isolation. And she begins to bring you up to speed on her journey. After she left the collective, she talks about traveling through the Hellcatch, traveling down to the Ashenador, and then eventually taking an airship out of the Ashenador and up into Jrusar, settling with the Dawnfather temple as a beginning point. Always remembering your advice about if you don't know what to do, ask a holy person and start there, which kind of prompted her. And that's where she goes on to talk about something she learned called Helm's Divergence. A particular champion of Helm that sacrificed their life as a way to prevent the sundering of the physical world and allowing the energy of both the Shadowfell and the Feywild to have been consumed by this divine divergence and stopping what most call the second cataclysm, or the second coming of a near cataclysm. Mm-hmm. And she then met Vespara Tresci at one of the ceremonies at the Dawnfather Temple, and they hit it off. They had a lot of energy with each other and spent a lot of time talking about the Feywild and magical existence, and how the lack of the Feywild's connection with the material plane has kind of changed things quite a bit. People have become more dark and broody. People have become less vibrant, less energetic about their relationship with other people. That people have become more insular and less vivacious and less concerned with the morality question of society and social upbringing, and the agreements and the discourse has kind of driven wedges between the many different houses of Jrusar and the different power bases that run Jrusar, and describes for you the notion or an idea that maybe somehow it's true. These things used to be connected. that when you guys used to be in the Feywild, when the polar existence, the connection between the Feywild and the material plane seemed to bring the emotion of the material world into a very vibrant existence, but in an opposite way in the Feywild. The great Cronova volcano in the Grain Lands, while a dark, dangerous place, you and your sister remember it as being this massive crystalline structure of vibrant color and huge gouts of purple, pink, and yellow smoke would ebb out of its caldera, a complete difference of both visual aspect as well as an emotional aspect. You can tell the more she talks about her journey and how she got here, how she met Vespara and got involved with House Treshy. And I am going to have, what's your passive insight?
14.
14. It's actually pretty decent. Your sister feels like a fangirl. Like she's lost in whatever this Vespara Treshy has sold her, whatever conversations they're having. She has been drawn into somebody else's dream, is what it feels like. Somebody else has energized her to believe very fervently about something that you're a little bit hesitant to believe. The collective is always taught that it's impossible for the Feywild to come back, that it's up to the Fey and the creatures of Fey to establish themselves in the material plane, to find their way, to find how they become a new people within the material plane, and in this case, Exandria, and to get lost in the idea of the Fey being reestablished could be a very dangerous path to take.
And this, I think the idea of my sister feeling like a fangirl feels very uncharacteristic for her.
Very characteristic of you, but not characteristic of your sister. Yeah. It was very uncharacteristic.
I think that I don't think Melody will say anything, but it puts a little bit of a damper on the mood. I think Melody has like come to this place that has been very different from the place where she was raised, and there have been unpleasant surprises, and this is kind of another unpleasant surprise.
Yeah. Once again, you get lost in her story, and the sun is set. The crowd around you swirls. Back to the Spire by Fire. Traumaton and Karina arriving at the Spire by Fire. Forn, over by one of the tables, quickly waves over towards you, Karina, as Traumaton, do you join in on their conversation, or you just linger in the Spire by Fire?
I'm just gonna linger for the time being.
Okay.
Throw people out.
Violation of code ethic 1042256. Failure to pay tab. Out you go.
I mean, by people, obviously he means foreign, right? So.
Hey, I just got a brand new fascinator. I do not need anything to happen to this thing.
So with that, Karina, you and Forn are sitting at a table by yourselves. There's a background of people, the crowd, the tavern's a bit boisterous. But you're back together again after receiving the message from Forn, Karina.
Forn. So you think that changeling might be Axion?
No, I don't think it's Axion at all.
Regina Green? I assume they would be the same person.
Regina Green's a changeling? That's news to me.
He did. Actually, I do believe he turned into her and then.
Yeah, but I don't know if you told Forn that.
Oh. No, I think I told them.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would have known Forn when she did her little reconnaissance in House Loomis. She described a person that changed form multiple times and suspected that Regina Green is the changeling that is pretending to be all these different people. You just don't remember her mentioning anything about a bird or a pet or an animal that would have.
Yeah, I don't think, It doesn't seem like her MO. If she was gonna do something silly like sell off a tavern,
Yeah, that
she'd
would
just kill the former owner. Why would she bother?
be honestly.
But he did mention they had a bird, a particularly ugly bird.
Like the one Talum gave me?
Yeah. So now,
D6
My memory-
inspiration for that one, Karina. That was a good pull. That was a good pull on that thread.
my memory is a bit foggy when after the explosion, being in and out of consciousness and all. But you didn't seem to be there for a few minutes, a while actually. But
Yeah, I told you.
there
I
was
went
this.
to House
there was this-
Loomis.
There was this Aarakocra that came out of nowhere and helped save the day. And the Aarakocra showed up with us, went all the way back up to the top of the Ivory Spire.
Yeah, that was me. You literally saw me transform into that.
Yeah.
Oh god.
My,
Jesus
my-
Christ, we've been through this, man.
my strong suspicions of your magical talents are coming full display right now.
Listen, we've been through this. House Loomis has given me certain knowledge of a magical spell. Not really allowed to talk about it. It probably does originate with some kind of changeling, but that's how I've been getting around.
Karina,
Also-
give me a base deception check. In case Foreign decides to do any insight checks.
Oh, I was absolutely about to. I was literally getting ready to say.
20.
Okay.
Ooh, 17.
that was an evil cackle. Thank you for that, Tally.
Well, let's say we go look in on this tower.
Listen, I'm not here to get the fucking 4th degree, man. We've had a long day. If you think I'm a swindle, ask me literally any question about the Lombrosa name. Do you need to see my seal? Like, what the fuck?
A long
I
day.
would swindle those
You
who all
are
did
impeccably
after their own house.
clean at this moment.
I'm sorry?
I said you are impeccably clean at this moment. Long day.
Yeah, because I went to the spa.
Oh my lord. Oh, such a
No, you know what? I'm not even
hallowed
that clean. I got. Do you want to know the fucking day I had? I got stabbed by the goddamn Golden Veil. You know how embarrassing that is? What if somebody saw me?
He, like, Foreign literally looks at his nails, like picks at some dirt underneath them while you're whining
That's
about
not
that.
dirt. That's not dirt. That's dried blood. But yeah.
Probably. But he's just like, he's literally like doing this, looking at you, waiting for you to finish talking.
Okay, what is it? Like, what do you need right now? Are we still on the same team, or are you off on some other mission? Because I'd rather know now before we go to the goddamn catacombs.
He did mention the bird was an owl, not a raven.
Cool, then I guess it wasn't my mentor.
No, but you've been around the Core Spire. Would you have seen such things?
I'm not much of an ornithologist. I don't know what to tell you. It's not really my area of expertise. Maybe my mentor would know something. Maybe there's like an ugly bird convention I am unaware of. But
Perhaps that's where they purchased your ugly, fiendish thing.
It's not mine. Have you even seen it? Like, since we left? It followed me a little bit afterwards, but I assume afterwards it just kind of went back to its master.
People don't normally talk to birds.
I didn't talk to a bird.
Oh, you squawk, squawk, squawk the whole
No,
time.
I didn't. I spoke to it mentally. This is not Puck. Puck would squawk. This is Korean classic.
The bird may have been squawking, but Karina would have been doing it mentally, psychically.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Well, you want to track down some dead man fungus, I suppose.
Yeah, to help save my my house here. The only connection my family has to fucking Jrusar. Sorry, I'm
The
cussing.
only connection, but they're able to pull all kinds of money out of nowhere.
Sunday's
Not out of nowhere. I am a noble. We have been through this.
You talk as if you've seen such terrible hard times, but you just give mommy and daddy a ring and you got more money.
Yeah, that's why I love being a noble.
Spare me the whiny, oh, my life is so hard bullshit.
Oh my god. Listen, why are you coming at me? Like, where is this coming from? Are you trying to get something out of me? Do you need more money? What's going on?
Do I need more money? I don't need money to survive.
Okay, good. Then you've just cut your pay in half. I hope you're happy with that.
It is what it is. Now, are we gonna go find this dead man's moss or whatever wild goose chase you got us on now?
I'm not the one who got that. Like, I feel like for whatever reason you have decided to
not trust you.
No, not trust. I mean, I don't trust you. Who would?
Not many people do, but I do tend to trust people
and integrity in a very direct way. And I have to say, I'm not really a fan of that, considering how much is already hanging on the balance here. Like, this makes me feel like you're gonna betray us.
Why would I betray you? I only betray those that betray me.
I don't know that about you, and you have literally just...
I got us out of the pickle with the diamonds. Now, I couldn't help what happened.
You did prove yourself then. Listen, I have hired you as extra muscle. We ended up in this really bizarre situation. It seems like our paths align. Do you feel like they align, or do you feel like they do not? I would rather have a straight answer now.
I track down what I track down. My path follows what I chase. In this case, you're paying me, so it is what it is.
Cool, then we are chasing the same bastards who have taken over my house. And by the way, that fucking changeling who has done so, and seems like a much more obvious clue for us.
You say changeling as if it's a bad thing.
It's very bad. I mean, especially for the nobles. Are you kidding me? They're leeches.
I'm rolling another insight check on that.
Yeah, you can. Karina, give me a deception.
Deception 4, but I'm gonna use my D6 inspiration now, so it's gonna be 11 plus.
You don't need it. I got a nat 20 on that one. It's a 24.
Oh, no.
Well, the difference,
you don't need
it. Max it out, Karina, if you want, because the difference between what he rolls and the difference between what you roll can be subjective to the amount of information that he might glean from this.
Okay, let's see. That's +6. So you know what? That does help me quite a bit. So that was a...
You rolled a 4 and a 6.
No. I did not roll a 4. I rolled a 7 plus 4, so that's...
Gotcha. 11.
11, and then +6, so that's 17.
17.
Versus 24 total for mine.
Okay. So a difference of 7. Being self-deprecating about changeling, what's Karina feeling while having to kind of like... Clearly, Foreign has picked up on some information, and you'll have to deal with Brokum. You've been wanting to deal with him for a while, but you were holding off. And somehow Brokum the Goliath over at the Stargazer Tavern clearly got a conversation going with Foreign. You know who he is. You know that was your first grift when you first got to Jrusar.
No, that's not my character's backstory. She has never grifted anyone.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You know that a grift occurred.
Oh, okay.
But you were never the center of it. But when you took on the persona, you also took on that persona's history. So it was one of those blips in the persona's history that you've taken on that you've always meant to deal with, because you're always afraid at some point it was going to potentially come back and kind of pick away or chip away at the persona that you've built. So
Okay.
this is more about the person you replaced, not necessarily about you.
Okay, well, Karina hates changelings. She has a lot of self-hate. She believes that probably the real Karina got replaced with hers as a kind of curse on the family. She is very determined to prove that she is not that by like honoring the family and returning the original. She believes that the uncle who dishonored the family is a changeling, probably. She thinks that they are kind of like parasites that people bring to kind of bring down a family from the inside. She really does hate changelings.
So you're picking up on a lot of energy about what feels like a genuine dislike of changelings and almost kind of over the top, feeling that Karina's dealt with a changeling before, and that has inspired her to be very vehemently anti-changeling, against the idea of changelings. It doesn't feel like the entire story, but there's a little bit of genuine energy and kind of boisterous kind of commentary in her voice.
So why didn't he recognize you when you walked up?
Who?
Brookham.
Who is Brookham?
Oh, she's not admitting to that.
Oh, I know. But like just based off of this like vibe, because I'm digging at this specific point.
Yeah, who is Brookham?
The bartender.
I think that's Karina roleplaying.
Yeah.
No. Wait, I'm actually asking.
Oh, Brookham's the
Brookham's
bartender.
the
at
Goliath of the Stargazer Tavern.
Oh,
The point of the grift that you were associated with, but not the grifter.
I don't know how she would be associated with. She does generally only stay as Karina. The only reason she would use any of her other personas, it would be to acquire information about Karina.
So,
like, she has no reason to grift. She does come from some amount of money in relation to Jrusar.
but that's the problem with taking over the persona. You also inherited its baggage.
Yeah, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
So like, while you're listening to Florin, it's like you're like, shit. When I read through Karina's diary about how she used to use her wiles and her ability to flirt with men.
She was 10 years old when she was replaced.
Yeah,
she's a magical creature. Karina, as you know her, Karina as you know her as your changeling self, was replaced at 10 years old. But that replacement is tied to a backstory of her that you're not fully aware of yet. You just know that she supposedly went missing or died, and it was a great opportunity for you to replace who she was as a way to get into House Loomis.
So, I see. Well, so let's go back a little bit just on the backstory to make sure it aligns. So, Karina, the original Karina, lonely child, playing alone in like the large estate, encounters a bunch of fae, starts to play with them. Amongst those fae is a changeling. She starts changing places with a changeling so she can go play, and the changeling will take her classes. And then one day she just doesn't come back.
Correct.
She is 10 years old at the time, and then after that, looking for her would only be like pretending to be somebody completely different so I can ask people questions.
Correct.
Okay.
So what you're picking up on is now you're wondering if this child that you were allowing to go play and you were switching places with her, if maybe something else was going on. Because now you're hearing a side of something that doesn't make sense. She was 10 years old. How could that Karina have gotten involved with this Goliath who's an adult male Goliath? How does that figure in? Often when you would come and visit, the transition between the Feywild and coming into the material plane and giving her that freedom to go play, other things were happening that you weren't always privy to. And now you're beginning to get the vibe that maybe something else was going on. Maybe her disappearance might be linked to something that maybe you may not have been aware of.
have only really arrived at Jrusar for my academics. I haven't been here for longer than 2 years. I don't really know how somebody would know me. I do know I have had interactions with changelings before this. I mean, unfortunately, it's kind of a reality of certain noble classes that occasionally you will meet somebody and you will realize that at a young age something happened and somebody put a curse on them and they have a changeling who is just kind of drinking their way around, gambling, causing trouble, but it's incredibly hard to prove. If you have a way to prove those things, I would be curious about that. But for now, I think I need to focus on what's happening in House Loomis. Though in the future, I would like to prove a certain individual I've met might be that, if only to kind of relieve the family name of some of the guilt and shame.
And all that felt genuine. No insight check needed.
Yeah.
You get the feeling she was not here in the sense of timing with Brokum's story. So something else could be at play here.
So he'll kind of lean in further. You know, I'm not real good at talking to others, but I feel you're being honest with me finally. So for that,
Finally.
I am sorry for the situation, the predicament you may find yourself in, and frankly, I'm sad at your disdain for changelings. They are wonderful creatures. Often they get misused, or they use their selves to misuse others, but it is an improper prejudice to just assume that they all want to take over other bodies and all those things. It's just, to my knowledge, it's something that's easier for them to blend in.
She kind of rolls her eyes. I'm sure they're great.
You know what? Another D6 inspiration. Your role play has been epic tonight. Actually, everybody's role play has been pretty epic tonight.
With that said, perhaps we should go try and track down these, what'd you call them again? Dead men?
Dead man athlete foot, yes.
Yeah. Dead man's fungus, that's right. Yeah.
Dead man's fungus.
Perhaps we should head on our way then. Well, I'll be. Trauma. He takes his hat off and kind of looks at it and dusts it off a little bit. I do believe you putting me a run for the money.
This doesn't Trauma look dapper as hell. She's a proud mom at this moment.
Like he dusts his hat and it's just soot, right? Like soot from all the shit earlier.
It's called style.
All right, Traumata, that was worth a D6 for sure.
Ooh, I'm wrecking these up.
With that, the three of you head out into the busy streets to find the gondola ride down to the bottom of the core spire and hopefully the area known as the tomb spire. Melody, back at... Well, actually, no, we just finished you. Eritreo, as you come up the pathway into the garden area of the Dawnfather Temple, it kind of reminds you when you and the others had arrived here to take a night in safety. And it was weird how Melody knew to come to this place, how she kind of knew that this was the place that you could come to when you needed just to get a little bit of shelter, find a little bit of safety. And you're now kind of in the gardens, standing, looking around. Give me a perception check as you look around.
Nat 1 for a 4.
Nice. Those are the rolls that make everything good. To your right, you see a little garden pathway that leads into what looks to be a anonymous statue of a feminine figure But they also have angelic wings on their back. The statue appears to be partially overgrown with vines and grass kind of growing up along its base. You can see a couple benches that mark the front of where the statue is. And something draws you towards it. You're not entirely sure why, but it just beckons you towards it. And without even realizing it, you're up the garden path, up the trail, and you're in the quiet area of this place. There's no sense of anyone around. There's a weird energy about this place. You can see that the ivy growing up the base of the statue covers some carved letterings in the statue. You can see that the figure, although feminine in appearance, has a very kind of like severe look about its face, a kind of severe kind of, there's a moment in your mind that this looks familiar to you. You don't know why. But there's something about this statue that you recognize, and it's bothering you.
I'm going to start kind of tearing away the vines on the statue.
As you pull at the vines and clear the base of the statue, you're almost shocked to see it, but in perfect celestial writing at the base of the statue, a single name, Davini, is at the base of the statue. And that name rings hollow in your head as you know her to be a fallen Aasimar of ancient time. She is a creature of malice, a creature that lost her way. And although she wasn't necessarily linked to the idea of Sarenrae, from a lineage perspective, Aasimar have a tight grip on their origin and how they come into existence. Aasimar descend from the celestial heavens either through trauma or through reward of the idea of appearing on the material plane. Sometimes, like you, they come into existence through reward of their purpose with their mother, in this case Sarenrae, being the embodiment of your faith and your trust. And the reason you've come to the material plane is to continue to pursue the idea of earning favor and restoring what Sarenrae really stands for and the intensity of what she really stands for. And here you find yourself in the gardens of the Dawnfather, staring at this Javeni in a bit of a state of shock. This is more of a legend of Aasimar existence, less of a notion of religion. And you feel kind of a cold breeze kind of wash across your shoulders. The sun has been down for a few minutes, and it's strangely cold here. A figure sitting in the shadow you notice for the first time. There's an energy and a cold vacuum of air kind of forming off this figure. You blink your eyes, you look at the figure, you look back at the statue, you feel a sense of awareness, being watched, being dug through, your mind feeling this kind of intrusion. And then as quickly as it starts, it fades. Sounds of the city come back to your mind. The bench is empty. The statue still there, but unimpressive. You shake your head as if you're clearing your mind of a fog. And it fades. This creature's long dead. She hasn't been spoken of by Azamir in well over a millennia. But you would know her from the lineage of your kind. She is often referred to as the first of fallen.
Could I do a history check on this statue to kind of maybe see if I know who would have constructed this, why it was put up?
Yeah, you give me history or religion.
I'll do religion, absolutely.
Okay.
That'll be 14.
14. There had always been rumors and half-truths and half-lies about a cult. This cult was known as the World Eaters, a particular cult that had gained a bit of notoriety during the post-centuries of divergence. They sought to distrust all divinity and all arcane existence. They were an organization, the World Eaters were convinced that it was arcane and divine that brought the world to near collapse and destroyed a huge population of people and setting waste to a good portion of many of the lands of Exandria. But then time grew on. The kingdom of Dwendel established itself. The Kryn dynasty established itself. Stability. Amon was on the rise. Even Marquet was recovering from the many wars that destroyed many of the different lands of Marquet. And as the world began to know heroes again, and conversations of unity and compacts of trust gradually getting reassured, yet again, their cult faded, and it's believed that they've been absent for well over 5 centuries. Maybe even 6, depending on the religious doctrine that you followed in the Temple of Sarenrae. However, 20 or so years ago, there was yet another divergence. They call it Helm's divergence. And sometimes when divergences happen, they create a kind of energy or an opportunity for those that know how to read these kind of situations. And you get the feeling with the collapse of the Fae and the absence of the Shadowfell that this cult of the First of Fallen, these World Eaters, maybe they see this as an opportunity to rise yet again. But your education and your understanding of their purpose is at a high level, not a very detailed level. But you know enough that perhaps if you could find out more information or find out maybe if others know more about these World Eaters and the First of Fallen. But why the statues here eludes you doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be here. It's been here for a while. This part of the park looks older and overgrown. No one seems to be much of a caretaker for it. In fact, your movement of the vine seems to be the only thing that's happened here for years to expose the writing at the base of the statue. Are you okay, sir? Are you okay? You see a page, a young boy wearing the Dawnfather's scribe, maybe a young teenager. He's kind of looking into the garden area that you're examining the statue, kind of lost in thought. And he's just, are you okay, sir? Is everything okay?
I'm terribly sorry if I disturbed you in any sort of way.
Oh, no, you didn't disturb me. I was merely walking by and I saw you standing there as if you were lost in thought. You've been there for a while.
How long have I been here?
Oh, well, the gardener came and said that he noticed a strange person standing in this old statue area and said that you've been there for well over an hour.
Sorry, everything that's happened in the last couple of days has kind of left me a little shocked, frankly.
As far as you're concerned, Eritrea, you've only been there 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, just if you need a meal, a drink, or the hall room is open. It's a special occasion, of course. The Kathia is full. The moon being full is always a good harvest moon for the closing of summer and the beginning of the harvest period. If you have time, feel free to come into the Dawnfather's Hall for a meal, if it might re-energize you. But sorry, I must go. Good luck to you, sir. And he kind of just runs.
Can I ask your name?
Oh, Jacob.
Thank you, Jacob. I believe I will join you.
Oh.
It won't be for long, because I have some compatriots I would like to meet up with, but I need a little comfort right now.
I understand, of course. As you follow the young teenage scribe as he goes off into the crowd, you stand there, and you could have sworn not more than 5 minutes ago when you came into this garden, it was quite empty. The sun feels lower off in the horizon, and there's more crowds here funneling up the stairs of the Dawnfather Temple and up inside. You can smell spiced meats and cooked vegetables and the vibrant smell and the sound of people in like a party-like atmosphere up inside of the temple.
I make my way up into the temple.
Okay. Melody. The end of your sister's conversation, she stops. I babble, I go on, I apologize. Listen, me and my partner, and yes, I assure you, he's only a partner currently, although we go out and have a good time from now and then. But nothing too serious. I have to meet up with him tonight. Vespar needs us for something. Where are you and your friends staying at, Melody? Where are you guys at?
Well, we're kind of moving from place to place right now, so I'm not totally sure, but where are you staying?
I'm staying at House Treshy. They have quite a large estate there. It's very difficult to get into. But here, take this. And she hands you like this leather fob with a mark of House Treshy on it. And it's got a quill, a book, and like a kind of like a sunburst behind it. If you make it up into the heights of the Corspire in the noble houses, they of course have guards that keep the place secure and safe. Can't quite get into the Chandei Quorum, you can't quite get into the noble houses without some kind of way to show the guards that you've been invited there. I've always had a spare one of those that Vespar gave me. This should allow you and your friends access to House Treshy. I am in the garden estate in the back of the main estate. Small little place. Me and trying to remember his name. What was his name?
I think it's Thomas. Yeah.
Yes.
Thomas.
Me and Thomas stay there. There are a couple other Fey folk there that stay with us as well. It's not a very big place. It's humble, but it's if you and your friends get a chance, come and visit us. We'll be there for the next few days, I think.
Yeah, we'll come visit for sure. That sounds awesome.
It's good to see you, Melody, and thank your friends for quite literally pulling my ass out of the fire. And as she gets up and the wine bottle's empty, and you can't help but notice she stands up and then looks at you with a very kind of concentrated look on her face. Strange how that fire broke out, wasn't it?
Oh my god, that was so scary.
I was on my way to visit Sarai. She was helping me with something.
Oh, I met Sarai as well.
Oh, do you...
Oh, Sarai was helping you? Are you the one contracting for those explosives?
Oh, no, she was... Fey creatures sometimes need different kind of help. You know, and she has, well, she had. I hope she's okay. I haven't seen
Too.
or heard of her if she's been killed or not. No, she was working on some alchemical compounds to help some of our pixie friends that are recovering from illnesses, and she was supposed to figure out what was required and allow us an opportunity of creating poultices and potions to aid them. So I was on my way there to do that. I was supposed to meet her at a tavern on the platform, and if she wasn't there, I was supposed to go to her place of business. That's where I was when the fire took hold. It's just this has been bothering me for a while, because one of the things I noticed about the soot and the burnt remains on the platform of as the fire was burning, it kind of reminded me a lot of that liquid compound that Sarai was working with, though she called it a liquid combustion or a liquid explosive. I just wonder if maybe that was the source of the explosion. Maybe that's where the fire started. I mean, do you have any ideas maybe how the fire started?
I think that the fire started closer to where I saw you, to be honest, and Melody is like never lies to her sister and is deceiving her sister right now.
Yeah, I need a deception roll, please.
Okay. Oh, that's a nat 20 for a
Nice.
24.
Oh, of course. I mean, it was such a. I didn't mean to press. Of course, you wouldn't know. That makes sense. Yeah.
But I agree. It seemed crazy the fire went up so fast. It just went up everywhere. Like, these buildings are supposed to be full of like food and dry goods and stuff, right? Like, why would it all light on fire so fast?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna go meet Vespar and Thomas. It's good to see you, Melody. It's been
Good
so
to
long.
see you too. It's
She
so
leans
amazing.
down. She leans down and gives you a hug.
Mhm.
What is your passive perception?
It's 12.
Okay. And she kisses your forehead and just smiles down at you. And she turns to leave the Stargazer. You also watch as during the day, the Stargazer sails are closed. Now that it's evening, all the Stargazer sails have been furled up so that the massive skyline of the stars up in the sky make up the ceiling of the Stargazer.
Oh, wow.
And it's just the light and energy that funnels down. But it's so weird to stare up at a sky of stars that no longer twinkle with the colors of the Fae. Staring at the stars pulls you back from your conversation with Melody. And as you stare up at these stars, they're all pale silver, pale white, pale yellow. But when the Fae was still connected to this place, stars could be blue and purple and green, gold and maroons, and various shades of blue and colors of orange. It just feels so lifeless, so disconnected. And it makes you wonder about Ariana's intense belief that maybe the Fae still exist. A dwarf sitting across from you. Those are amazing stars, are they not?
Yeah, they're pretty great.
Saw you lost. Was that your twin sister? I didn't mean to, I didn't want to barge in. Your conversation was quite intense, but are you okay?
Yeah, of course. I mean, beautiful bar, pretty night, just hanging with my sister. Why wouldn't it be okay?
Well, first of all, he rolled a natural 20 on insight.
Oh,
so.
things are not okay.
Let me get you a good dwarven ale. because you can already see like the tears welling up in your eyes, the complete exhaustion of holding back your emotion and your concern about your sister kind of suddenly wells out, and the dwarf is actually feeling a little bit awkward. He's like, oh no, that's not, I didn't, oh, I'm so sorry.
I'll take a beer.
Yeah, you know, and one of the servers comes over and goes, Danny, are you okay? She's fine. She's fine. I swear I didn't do anything. I was just noticing that she looked a little distracted. I was just trying to cheer her up.
It's just been a really exciting day.
You're having like a full, oh my God, what was that? You're having like a full Clueless at the cafeteria table moment. Oh my God, my sushi is room temperature. What the F? But here, drink this. And you kind of, you know, sip it, and it tastes amazing. It's like this cinnamon apple with a little bit of like a bit of a beer kind of malt to it, but it's more sweet than sour. And the cinnamon draws you in as you kind of drain the whole thing in one gulp. Mm-hmm. Give me a con save. All right. The eyes on the dwarf go like silver dollar size. Like he just watched you drink an entire tankard of dwarven ale. And
okay. It's a 16.
16. You are quickly buzzed, borderline drunk. Whatever this is, it's pretty heavy stuff. It did. Yeah, that's actually.
Oh my God, this stuff is so good. This is incredible.
Yeah, that's meant to be sipping, not exactly gulping. And you just kind of get lost in this kind of casual conversation with this dwarf. Mm-hmm. You guys share drinks and kind of just losing yourself into the evening of the Stargazer. Atraumaton, Thorn, and Karina, after leaving and heading out towards the gondola that will take you down to the lower part of the core spire, it's strange being in a city that could nearly suffer catastrophe like it did, and it seems to rebound so quickly. Like, even now at night, as you look down in the direction of the Ember Spire, you can see the silhouette of the fractured collapse, but the gondolas are already working, people going to work. You could see huge groups of workers that clearly are meant to go and begin to dig out the debris, work on the damage of the spire. You can see wardens mixed in amongst them, kind of keeping them organized and kind of prepared to do what they do. You then reach the gondola platform. Each of you pay your 2 silver, and you feel the gondola beginning to descend down and down and down. This is the lowest any of you have ever been within the core spire. And now you can hear the water. You can hear the beginnings of jungle noises, the kind of noise of the city left behind and up above you. You also realize you're the only 3 on the gondola. It lands the lowest the gondola is capable of going. You can see a massive culvert, maybe 15 feet high, 20 feet wide, where all of the water of the spires, through all the different collection points, kind of gather here and spill out into the jungle canopy below. As you stare, as you get off the gondola, you're on this massive platform. It's huge. Stone and eroded rock and mountain. These great spires were once these great mountain ranges pre-calamity, but post-calamity, they have eroded quickly and are now slowly and eventually they will collapse into the wildlands below. But for now, they're home to a city of at least 75,000 people. The platform you stand on, you could see recent funeral pyres. Those that didn't survive in the Ember Spire are heaped in tall stacks. You could see wardens overwatching as dozens of workers are taking dead bodies from wagons and carts and putting them on these great funeral pyres. You could see a dawn marshal priest kind of walking alongside the caretakers that are doing this, doing ritualistic ceremony and rites, murmuring religious pantheon sayings as each body is gingerly placed on these flat wooden pyres. You guys stand in the shadow of the culvert, the rushing water behind you. You could hear in the distance this great roar, this you could hear birds flocking, these night birds coming up and out of the canopy, staring down at almost like a foreign world down below. This strange place that sits above this massive jungle. And you know that these trees are 30, 40 feet tall. The canopy so dense that when the hot air rises and the cold air hits the canopy, creates this great humidity fog of the swamp that kind of envelops this level of the spire in a strange kind of greenish kind of humidity. While up further, it's not quite as hot. Down here, sweat under the collar, all except Trauma. You hear his CPU fan come on and kind of cooling down his systems. But there's a strange kind of Foreign, give me a charisma save, if you would, please.
Oh. Nope. That's an 8.
Well, Karina and Atraumaton are just watching these folk work and getting the lay of what this platform is designed to do. A small voice in your head that you haven't heard for a very, very long time. So you did it again. How many did you kill this time? 10? 20? 100? I mean, at least the last time you actually killed them with your bare hands, but this time, Fawn, you set everything on fire. I mean, it's not that I don't appreciate your good works. It's not that I don't appreciate the opportunity to absorb so many souls into my world, but I've never met someone so eager to fuck up so gloriously. I mean, at this pace, the gates will open and things will be back to normal quicker than I ever thought.
The group would see Foreign just standing there, like frozen, staring straight forward, like he was in his trance, but his eyes are normal. He's not, obviously, no signs of the trance. Like bead of sweat, like running down the side of his face.
And you thought that being saved by the Bright Queen would somehow redeem your dark, useless soul. I mean, you got a lot of blood on that ledger, Fawn. A lot of blood. You remember what happened when she rescued you? Remember what you did? A lot of young people involved in that, weren't there?
Leave me alone. I don't need you in my head right now.
Does he say that out loud?
Yes. Like not really loud. It's one of those like under his breath kind of statements, but you're close enough to me that you would have heard it.
Karina is gonna do insight check on him.
So's Drama.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for
it. You don't even have to. Like, I mean, he's first. My charisma is shit anyway. But secondly,
he's not so fun now, is it?
he's being completely serious though. He's saying it. You wouldn't get an insight. It's not, like you wouldn't know who he's talking to at all, right? But
no,
you can feel like this, like tinge of terror, not just fear, but a tinge of terror in his voice. as much as he says it in like a dismissive way. Like there's a quiver there that's a quiver that's not like a fear quiver, it's a fuck quiver.
I got 17 on the insight.
I'm looking at mine. I got 17 too, actually.
Oh,
Nice.
high five, snake eyes.
Twinsies.
Twinsies.
The battle rages around you. The spire. You stand on a veranda overlooking down into what could only be described as a protrusion of rock. You look at the shadow forms descending from the hurricane cloud up above you. Rising from below, you can see airships. But one of the last of Mason's followers, you stay loyal. You look over to a veranda and you could see Mason amongst the broken spires of the old Strahd's castle. You could see the arcane stones coming to light, the broomstone arcing, firing off of each other as the citadel descends from the hurricane cloud, getting closer. You watch as the shadow figures descend, and you watch as airships begin to wink out, being destroyed, cannon fire all around you. You watch as something made of flame begins to approach the citadel. You watch others on airships get closer towards the citadel. Mason is lost in this form that he has taken. Sweat on your brow. You always knew that this day would come. There's a moment you and Mason lock eyes. His doom below him. His calculations have gone wrong. Something else is at play here. His power is not complete, and something stronger rises up from below to challenge him. And for the first time in your life of knowing Mason, you see fear on his face. This new lich form that he's acquired, too powerful to be dealt with, but never before have you seen fear. And in your mind, you feel a tiny, cold voice. Just in case. A small piece left behind for a hopeful future. And with that, you are immediately out of your condition. You feel the water, the humidity, and Atramaton and Karina looking at you because you are on your knees, holding your head, and there's a slight nosebleed leaking out, and you can taste the copper in your mouth.
I kind of shake my head and spit the bloody mess out on the ground, and he's gonna lean over and like just blow his nose out. Which, I mean, real country like, right? You know, just,
yeah, very like, country like. First thing you do when you get off the tractor is you blow the dust out of your nose,
right? Mm-hmm. And he just
and the guilt and the blood and the murderous souls all around you.
Sprayed all this blood out on the ground there, and wipes his nose on his hand and kind of, rubs it in.
Thorn, are you okay?
I'll be fine.
Do you want to talk about this?
Don't we have some dead guy fungus to track down?
Excuse me. Are you people here on official business? You watch as a warden kind of cautiously approaches the three of you. See, like he's got his hand on his blade, but then he sees a Traumaton and kind of takes his hand off his blade. Are you here for the vigil? Is that why you've come?
Yes.
Oh, please come with me to join the other families. And he guides you away from the edge of the gondola platform, and you can see that like Fortin's visibly shaken, and now you're being drawn towards a crowd of about 200 people. They're all crying and weeping, kind of just in their grief. As the last person's brought from the gondola platform, there are 3 funeral pyres. Maybe a total of about 70 plus people have been placed on these pyres amongst the 3 different stacks. You watch as some of the wardens kind of bring vessels of oil to douse the pyres in oil. And you watch as the Dawnfather priest kind of takes his place, stands on a podium. Sisters, brothers, well, we don't always understand why such tragedies befall us. It is our faith that holds us true. Now, some of you may ask yourselves, was this the product of divinity or simply the product of the fated? The Dawn Marshal, or the Dawnfather, tells us that in the morning the sun rises with the hope of the day. And when the sun sets in the evening, it's with the understanding the hope of the morrow lingers and waits for us. While my faith is a fervent belief that the Dawnfather is always keeping his watchful eye on us. And it's only through our resilience, through these tragedies, that we find our way back. We find our way back to the purpose of divinity, the purpose of a future that still harbors hope in the dawn. I commence these souls. I commence these souls to travel with the Raven Queen. She will guide them safely over the threshold of death. And there they will take their seat amongst the others that wait patiently for us. For there's a great tree that exists in the celestial heavens, and under this tree, all of those that have died before us sit and wait. They sit and they patiently linger. They talk. They eat. They share the drink and the word of the divine amongst each other. Stories of women talking about their husbands or wives. Stories of husbands talking about their husbands and wives. Children patiently waiting for the return of their parents. Elderly parents that have seen many years, only now to be sitting under the great tree, wondering when that day is going to come. You watch as one of the pyres explodes into an orange flame. You then watch as a second pyre into another, and then a third. I feel the pain here. I see it on your faces. Whether by accident or by purpose, this tragedy affects us all. You hear an angry shout from the crowd. Not if you're the Chandei Quorum. Nothing ever affects you. And then you hear a female voice. Yes, we've been complaining about the safety of the Ember Spire for years, and look at what's happened. You watch as a rotted piece of fruit arcs out of the crowd, strikes the priest in the chest, splatters across his chest. Folks, please, patience. This is a vigil. We must show caution at a vigil. And you could see remorse and grief turning into hatred and anger. You watch as a a person, and a middle-aged man who looks to be lost in deep grief and anger, kind of his hand resting on a dagger at his belt. He pushes through the crowd, and as he approaches one of the wardens, he takes out the knife and digs it into the warden's chest, pushes the warden out of the way, and starts running towards the priest with another knife drawn from his belt. The priest puts out his hand, and a blue light engulfs the man, and he just gets this kind of look on his face and is gently laid down onto the ground and is quickly asleep. Now, I know we're all angry, and there's much to be discussed about what happened, but this is not the way to go about it. My sister was in that fire, now she's gone. My brother! The angers and the shouts get worse. The wardens begin to back away from the crowd, doing a tighter circle around the Dawnfather priest. The three of you kind of in the midst of this. You could feel the anger. You could feel the hate pouring off this crowd. A fresh gondola arrived with about a dozen wardens coming off, and a figure. Long brown hair. Golden sun-kissed skin. Plain clothes, nothing fancy at all. Very mundane clothes. This figure strolls eagerly between the wardens and the crowd. You hear one of the wardens that traveled with them go, Jaman, please, not too close. This crowd is very angry. And I understand their anger. I would be angry too at such lack of concern and safety and the obvious moral erosion of a city that has lost sight of itself. Watches Jaman Saort stands there in a very thin form, very, like, for all of their looks, they feel very mundane looking, but when you see their eyes, deep brass colored eyes with a kind of vertical pupil in their center, very kind of reptilian look, and reminding the three of you of when they saw Jaman transform out of their brass dragon form and into their physical form that they take now. I know tonight's been difficult. I fought with desperate people in a desperate battle, and I watched thousands perish. Thousands. When Vecna attempted to ascend, we unified and we defeated him and saved Vasselheim. And what do I see here now before me? People suffering tragedy and looking to prescribe hate and anger on someone that does not deserve it. Did you know the Ember Spire was poorly conditioned? Did you know that the houses and the quorum were actively not heeding your words and advice? Did you know the dangers, and yet you still went? What are we supposed to do? We have to eat. Yes. Or you could change things. Chandei Quorum is not a beneficent or an autocracy. They are subject to rules and laws. The three of you have high enough passive to notice the wardens are a little bit nervous. They're just as corrupt as the Chandei Quorum. And you could see very kind of sweaty brows, wardens staring at each other with a bit of kind of oh shit moments on their face. I am here for one simple reason. After the near destruction by forces led by Ludinus, nearly destroying Rudius and Cathia, and the Ruby Vanguard, nearly destroying Vasselheim yet again. Helm's Divergence, even teaching us more lessons about how the gods and how magic continue to work against us as people. Things must change in order for things to get better. Ank'Harel is here to reassert its providence over all the lands of Marquet. Whether it's the Kingdom of Hellcatch, the Ashnodor Free People, the Pandor Sands, and the far northern Wild Kingdoms, the vision will no longer be accepted. Ank'Harel, the jewel of this continent, will be at the seat of the table. A new council will be formed, and Marquet will be dragged, screaming and kicking, into a new era of peace. Whether, and they look towards the Wardens, they like it or not. Well, my seat in the chamber of the palace in Ank'Harel guarantees me my right to rule over Ank'Harel. My heritage and my legacy and my lineage take me back before Cataclysm, when Marquet was a massive, vibrant forest of Elven Kingdom, of the Kael Moreau. No longer. What you saw and the other cities and kingdoms and those that sit at councils pretending to have your favor in mind will be in control of your destiny any longer. This will be a free People's Council. This will be a pact similar to the one that's been built between the peoples of Tal'Dorei, Vasselheim, and the Menagerie Coast, and the peoples of Dwendal and Kryn. Even now, the Bright Queen travels to join this council. Even now, Caleb of Nicodranus, of the Cerebus Assembly, journeys for this council. And even wise old Pike Trickfoot travels from Vasselheim to join this council. As soon as we know who's to represent Tal'Dorei, this council will commence, and the beginnings of change will happen, I assure you. The days of corruption, lies, and syndicates running this place are over. Your families paid the ultimate cost for greed and corruption. And now, I am here to collect. You watch as the Wardens nervously take their hands off weapons, and all but maybe 3 or 4 of the Wardens kind of collect away from the crowd over by the gondola platform. Father, if you would commence and conclude the vigil. Yes, your lord. Your Highness, I know you don't like those titles, but you're just so fucking cool. Anyways. Yes, the Benedict, the final, yes. As we stand here, on the edge of a new beginning, we reflect upon the voices back in your head, Foreign, as it's drawn and drowned out from you. Yes, as you reflect upon your past, your involvement. You stare at the 3 funeral pyres gathering in flame and smoke. And there you see his lich face in the smoke, his mechanical eye, the gearwork augments of his physical organic form, just kind of billowing in the smoke and in the fire. Opportunity awaits us all, Vaughn. If this creature is here. I can only imagine what it must be like for when they all gather. Great tragedy befalls this newly formed council. That would be delicious. I could feed for millennia. The gates would feel emboldened to bind themselves. This place feels of suffering, conflict. You owe me for. I could have consumed your soul. I didn't, but you feel a heartstring pull of a silver cord, a chest pain that grips you. I still your soul. It will remain mine till your debt is paid. I think the Bright Queen would be a good exchange. It would be delicious and tasty. And that's where we're going to finish tonight. And when we come back next Sunday, I love when backstories start kicking off. So much fun. It's so much fun because Forn, he didn't give me a lot to work with except for one very important sentence. You put a little hook in there for me, and boy, did I run with it.
Yep.
Sorry about the confusion, Karina. I was trying to express in your backstory, this was one of those nuances where sure, she was a 10-year-old girl, but now you're getting information that maybe something else more sinister was going on. Maybe she wasn't a 10-year-old girl. Maybe you interacted with something that was maybe an accident, or maybe it was on purpose. And you're wondering, were you letting something out into the world during that period of play when you thought you were helping this person, while also taking advantage of learning about the House Loomis family and establishing your connection with them? Of course, you have Eritrio's sudden realization that even though the backdrop of Sarenrae is slightly at play, the sudden shock of an Azimir statue in the middle of this place, harking back a millennia and back to a time of calamity and harboring an image of the First of Fallen. Melody, with your realization that your sister is neck deep in something, and that emotion pouring out like all party girls do with a complete stranger while getting drunk. Traumaton begins to learn that he is a creature of magic, perhaps. This name Crimp, a wizard or artificer that seems to work with an organization called the Ivory Syndicate and may hold the nugget of information about the origin of trauma. And then, of course, Forn. The full weight of the traumatic event up on the Ember Spire crashing down upon you, just heavy enough to open an old wound that you thought that the Bright Queen had helped you get rid of. And his voice, that voice of Mason, gravelly in your mind. You guys go ahead and linger. Everyone else out there, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Be safe, be kind, and don't forget, play a game. Good night, everybody. I'm getting better. I'm getting better at this.